We always hear about ancient magic being this, mysterious thing, almost untouchable, lost to the sands of time. But, something really struck me from the stuff you sent over. The whole idea of Heka, this ancient Egyptian magic, it was actually seen as a power, like inside everyone. That idea, that it could be accessible even now, that's powerful stuff, don't you think?
Yeah, no, it's a really fascinating place to start. I mean, the thing that jumps out is this duality of Heka itself.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just rituals and spells and stuff. It was this deeper, energy, almost like a vital force running through everything.
Right. And that's what we're diving into today on the deep dive. You gave us this great document all about Heka, the magic of ancient Egypt. We want to unpack it, get to the good stuff, pull out those insights. We'll be looking at what it was, why it mattered so much to the ancient Egyptians. We'll even meet the god Heka himself.
Oh, wow.
And we'll even talk about how they practiced this magic and how it all tied into their ideas about Mot and, talking to the gods.
You ready to go exploring this ancient power?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So first things first, we got to get a handle on what Heka actually was. You said it was their word for magic, but there's more to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's it goes beyond just the word magic. It's this idea of an energy that's already inside you, like a spiritual life force that's kind of woven into all living things.
Okay, so Heka as a life force. Let's dig into that a bit. Your source was pretty clear that not everyone had the same amount of this Heka.
Right.
It was like a magical pecking order, right? With the gods at the top, overflowing with Heka. Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they were the big players in their universe, right? But it's really interesting who else they thought had a lot of it.
Right.
Like the pharaoh, obviously. They were the connection between the gods and everyone else. But then it gets interesting. They say people who were, quote, unusual had a lot of Heka too, like dwarfs, people with birth defects. Wow. That's such a different way of looking at it than, how things are today. It's instead of being seen as less than, they might have been seen as having more of this magical energy, almost like their difference was a sign of something special. And the source even mentions red hair.
Oh, yeah. Red hair was definitely seen as powerful, magically potent.
So it's flipping the script on what we might think. Physical differences maybe weren't bad. They might have meant you were more spiritually powerful. That says a lot about how they understood the divine, right? And then there's the dead, can't forget them.
Definitely not.
The Egyptians believed the dead. They kept their Heka, maybe even got more of it, which is why they're always calling on them in spells and rituals.
Makes sense, right? They're closer to the source.
Yeah. So we've got this world that's buzzing with this unseen power, this Heka, and then your source drops this bombshell that Heka might be more available now than it was back then.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting. They're saying that because so many people can read and write, and we have all this technology, that actually makes magic more democratic.
Okay, I'm following you.
Back then, knowing how to read and write, knowing the right words to say, that was the key to magic. And only a few people had that key.
But now, we've got the internet, right?
Yeah.
Information galore.
Exactly.
So theoretically, anyone could learn about magic if they wanted to. The document even says magic is for all if you have the will and, the dedication. That's kind of empowering, right? So if magic is for all, what does that say about how we see power and knowledge and even spirituality now compared to ancient Egypt?
That's a good question. It's the focus shifts from who you are to what you're willing to do,
Right.
But okay, moving on from Heka as this energy and these practices, the document introduces us to Heka as a god too.
Oh, right. The god of magic himself.
Yeah, or, well, maybe a better way to put it is the embodiment of magic.
I like that.
He's magic made flesh. And sometimes they even show him hanging out on the solar bark.
Wow, VIP treatment. So how did they picture him, this god of magic?
Usually he's this bearded guy with that lion headdress, the Nemes.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, so right away you're connecting him to power, royalty, all that good stuff. But he's way more than just an image, he's a big deal in their creation story.
Okay, so we're talking universe creating stuff here.
Yeah.
You mentioned he was connected to Sia, who represents perception, and who's the creative word.
Right.
And they're all on the solar bark with Re. Why is that so important, them being there together?
All right, so think about it. The solar bark, it's like Re's ride, right? It's how he makes his daily journey. That journey is creation happening over and over.
Gotcha.
So having Heka, Sia, and Hugh there with him, it's like saying, hey, this isn't just about the sun moving across the sky. It takes magical energy to keep it going. It takes divine insight. That's Sia. And it needs the creative word, that's Hugh, to actually make it happen.
So they're like the dream team?
Exactly. They're the ones making sure the universe keeps running, like the engine room of creation.
Love that. And Heka has this title, Heka, who opens his two eyes that the two lands might see.
Oh.
That feels connected to Sia and who, like they're his tools, right?
Yeah.
He's like the power behind their power.
It's like he's bringing perception and speech into being, and it's all fueled by his magic, And that lets keep an eye on everything, keep those two lands, Upper and Lower Egypt, in order.
Keeping things running.
Right.
And then there's the title Elder Magician. That feels really primordial,
Totally. And he's called the firstborn of Anam-Re, so it's clear they see him as the original, the OG magician.
So he's the source.
Exactly.
And all the other magical deities, like Isis, they're tapping into his power.
Exactly. He's like the foundation, and everything else is built on top of that.
Okay, I'm with you. Now, your source also goes into some of Heka's other titles, which, they all add another layer to who he was.
Yeah, they're like pieces of the puzzle.
Right. The one that really jumped out at me was the one who consecrates imagery.
Ooh, yeah, that's a powerful one.
It's like he's making images real, giving them power.
What's so cool is how it bridges the gap between the gods and our world. It's saying that he can take creative thoughts, actions, whatever, and give them real power, make them like manifest in the physical world.
So like amulets, those little charms they used.
Right, the saw.
Heka isn't just like blessing them, it's his power that's turning that image, that physical object, into something magical.
Absolutely. It's the consecration that makes it work.
Wow. And then there's Lord of Kas, and the Ka, that's their word for the life force.
Yeah, like the spiritual double of a person.
So he's in charge of this like essential part of everyone.
Gods too, yeah. It's a huge responsibility.
No kidding. It really shows how much influence he had. And that's what leads to later on, they start seeing him as the Ka of Re himself. Like Re says, Heka is my Ka.
That's a big promotion.
Seriously. He's up there with Mot now, keeping the whole universe in balance. And then there's the spell, coffin text spell, 648.
Oh yeah.
That one really lays out how powerful he is. It says, his powers put fear into the gods who came into being after him.
Strong words.
Right, like he's the OG. Even the other gods are a little scared of him. The spell also says he created himself and that even the gods depend on him to exist.
And he made mountains, the whole sky, all that.
He built the universe.
Basically.
And then the Book of the Heavenly Cow goes even further.
Oh yeah.
Ray says Heka is his Ba, his soul, basically.
Yeah.
And it says he's older than time itself.
Mind-blowing.
Right. So the Ba, that's often shown as a bird with a human head. It's like the part of the soul that can move around.
Right.
So saying Heka is Re's Ba, it's like saying he's this essential, timeless part of Re.
It's deep.
Deep stuff. And then the Vienna Papyri, it calls him the controller of the House of Natural Law. That really ties him to Mot, right?
Absolutely.
Because Mot is all about truth, justice, keeping the universe running smoothly. So magic, Heka, it's not some random force out there. It's part of the system. It's working with Mot to keep things in balance.
Right.
It wasn't chaotic. It had rules.
It was essential, really.
And, your source mentions these other titles that come from the word Heka, like Where Hekau and Where Heko. Where Hekau, that means mighty of magic. Some pretty important figures had that title, like Anubis, Isis, Thoth. It's like a magical seal of approval, right?
Totally. Like they've been certified as magic users.
Yeah. And then there's Where Hekau, the great of magic. She started out as this cobra goddess.
Right. And then she gets absorbed into other deities like Isis. And your source says maybe she's still around, like in serpent wands and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And she also had a lioness form.
Cobra and lioness. That's a powerful combo.
No kidding. It's like she's got that deadly strike, but also that fierce protection and strength.
Okay, so we've talked about what Heka is, who Heka is. We got to talk about how they actually used it, good magic, bad magic, all that.
Right.
Your source brings up the harem conspiracy. It's like a murder plot.
Yeah, this group of people, they're trying to kill Ramesses III using spells and figurines.
That's some dark stuff. Clearly not cool, right? Like, that's black magic.
Definitely. And the people who tried it, they got the worst punishment. Not just death, they wiped their names from everything.
Like they never even existed.
Erased.
Wow. But then there's the pharaoh himself. He's using what looks like curses against his enemies in these execration texts.
Right, but your source makes it clear. It wasn't seen as cursing in the same way. It was about protecting Egypt.
Okay, so intent matters.
Big time.
Yeah.
It's like a national defense thing.
Yeah.
They'd make these little models of enemy ships or soldiers and ritually destroy them. The idea was, if you destroy the image, you hurt the real thing.
So not about personal revenge, but about protecting the whole country. Okay, that makes sense. And what about regular people? When they were dealing with stuff like sickness or bad luck, how did they see Heka?
They usually thought it was because of something with Heka, like a restless spirit or a bad sorcerer.
Someone put a spell on them.
Or maybe a god was angry, so they'd go find someone who knew Heka and ask them to, fix it.
So who were these Heka experts? Were they like these secretive sorcerers hiding in the shadows?
Actually, it seems like it was mostly priests. They'd use their off time to help people out, make a little extra money.
So magic was just part of life. You needed help, you went to the priest?
Pretty much. And, the word Heka stuck around for a long time.
Yeah.
They used it right up until the Romans showed up.
Long run.
Yeah. And then it becomes Hek in Coptic, which, is connected to the Greek word magia.
Which is where we get magic.
Full circle.
Wow. So to really understand Heka, we got to look at the big picture, how the Egyptians saw the whole universe. Your source had some great info on that.
It's a wild ride. I mean, their history is so vast, like over 3,000 years. It's hard to even wrap your head around it.
Yeah, no kidding. And then there's the landscape, the Nile. That's their lifeline.
Literally.
It flows from south to north. And their whole society, their religion, even their art, it's all built around that river.
Makes sense. And then you got the desert on both sides and the sun making its journey east to west day after day. It all shaped how they saw the cosmos.
Their cosmology is amazing. You've got Nun, the primordial waters where everything came from, and Nuit, the sky goddess watching over it all.
Yeah, it's beautiful imagery.
It is. And then there's that whole south is up thing because of the Nile flowing that way.
Yeah, that one always throws people off.
Seriously, it makes you realize how much our way of seeing things is just like habit.
Totally. And then there's the heart. They thought the heart was the center of intelligence, not the brain.
That really changes how you think about the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Judgment and consciousness itself.
For sure. And then you got the Memphite theology, this idea that Thoth created the universe with words.
The power of speech.
Right. Which brings us right back to Heka. Words have power.
Creating with words, that's powerful stuff. And then there's Mot.
Mom.
He's like the ultimate principle, right? Truth, justice, cosmic order, the whole shebang.
The bedrock of their world.
They even say she's the source of Earth's power in the pyramid texts. And later on, she becomes his daughter.
And sometimes she's connected to Thoth, even Heka. She's everywhere.
She's like the glue holding everything together.
Exactly. And she's usually shown as this woman with wings holding an ostrich feather.
I've seen those pictures.
Yeah, it represents air, breath,
Yeah.
the essence of Mot. And the pharaoh, his most important job was to make sure Mot stayed strong. He even called himself beloved of Mot and did this whole ceremony where he presented her image to the gods.
Keeping the universe in balance, that's the pharaoh's job.
Right.
And Mot wasn't just for the living. When you died, your heart got weighed against her feather in the underworld.
The final test.
Pass, you're good. Fail, and you meet Amut, the soul eater. Yikes.
Not a good way to go.
No kidding. So, how did all of this whole worldview, affect how they saw the gods?
It was a different relationship than what we're used to.
Right.
It wasn't just about praying and asking for favors. They'd straight up tell the gods what to do.
Really?
Yeah. And if they thought the gods weren't listening, they'd even threaten them. Like they'd threaten to damage their statues, even burn down their temples.
That's hardcore.
It's a very different way of interacting with the divine. And then there's the magicians. They tried to become the gods, merge with them to get their Heka.
So they could be more powerful.
Right. And they believed the gods were really present in the world. Like you could connect with them directly. The statues, they weren't just symbols. They were like channels for divine energy.
And ancestor worship, that was big for them too, right?
Huge. They thought the dead had even more Heka and could help you out if you asked nicely.
Like in those letters to the dead?
Exactly. They'd write letters to their dead relatives asking for favors.
Wow. And even their demons weren't all bad.
Right. They were seen as powerful beings from the underworld. Scary, but you could ask them for help if you needed it.
It's a whole different way of seeing things. The lines between the physical world, the divine, the magical, they were blurry.
Yeah, all mixed together.
And their idea of the soul, it wasn't simple. You had the Ab, the Ba, the Ka, all these different parts.
It shows how complex their spiritual beliefs are.
For sure. And the gods were at the center of it all. Magic and religion, they weren't separate things. They were woven together.
Like threads in a tapestry.
Exactly. So we've done a lot of digging here, and it's clear that Heka was way more than just spells and potions. It was a force of nature, a divine energy, a god, and it was totally tied up in how they understood creation, the gods, and Mot, that idea of cosmic balance.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Heka. We tried to bring you the most interesting parts of your source material and, really unpack what it all means.
Definitely.
The Egyptians believed that words and images could have real power, especially when they were consecrated by Heka.
Right.
And that makes you think about our world today. We've got information everywhere. Everyone's creating stuff.
It's a different world.
It is. What do you think? Does any of this ancient stuff resonate with you today?
Good question.
There's so much more we could explore. The different gods, how they did their rituals, Mot, all that stuff. If any of this sparked your interest, definitely keep digging.
Yeah, there's a lot more to discover.
Absolutely. This whole journey it reminds us that people have always wanted to understand and use power, whether they call it Heka or something else.
That's the human story right there.
It really is.